Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling a really complex and, let's be honest, often deeply misunderstood subject, the Taliban.
Yeah, it's definitely one that gets a lot of headline attention, but not always a lot of deep understanding.
Exactly. So forget the quick takes. Our mission here is to really unpack their whole story. We're talking origins, their rise, their fall, and, well, their comeback.
Right. What does it all actually mean? For Afghanistan, obviously, but also for the rest of us.
We've pulled together a lot of sources for this, really comprehensive stuff, and we're going to try and pull out the key insights, the crucial facts, and maybe some things that might genuinely surprise you.
And it's so important, I think, to get beyond just the sort of day-to-day news. We need to look at why the Taliban are who they are, not just what they do.
That's the goal, giving you the context to really think critically about all this.
To really process it.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Foundational question. Who are the Taliban? Even the name itself gives us a clue, doesn't it?
It really does. Taliban, it literally translates to students in Pashto, which is, quite telling.
Students seems worlds away from their image now.
Right. But at their core, they are a Sunni Islamist fundamentalist movement, primarily based in Afghanistan, emerging back in the early 1990s.
So founded, according to the sources, 1994, Kandahar, Afghanistan, and the founding leader was Mullah Muhammad Omar.
Correct.
But what about their ideology? It's described as this strict mix, isn't it?
It is. It's a combination, really. You've got Deobandi Islam. That's a very conservative branch of Sunni Islam that started in India.
Okay.
Then there's the Pashtunwali code. That's the traditional tribal sort of honor code for Pashtuns. It's deeply ingrained.
Right.
And layered onto that is a very, very strict, literal interpretation of Sharia law. Their goal, consistently, has always been establishing an Islamic emirate run entirely by their version of Sharia.
That consistency is striking. Now, looking at their origins, it feels almost counterintuitive compared to what they became known for. Can you set the scene? What was Afghanistan like in the early 90s that even allowed a group like this to form?
Oh, it was, pure chaos. After the Soviets pulled out, you had this brutal civil war. Corruption was rampant, lawlessness.
Warlords curving things up.
Exactly. Competing warlords basically ran different parts of the country. People were absolutely desperate for some kind of order, any stability.
And it's into that vacuum the Taliban emerge, formed by these madrasa students, mostly Pashtun, as you said.
Right. And their initial appeal, and this is crucial, was their anti-warlord stance. They promised to bring law and order, stop the fighting.
And people bought into that.
Yes, it gained them a lot of public support initially. Plus, they got significant backing early on from Pakistan's ISI, their intelligence agency.
Ah, the ISI connection.
And some tacit support from Saudi Arabia, too. That really helped them gain momentum fast.
But then there's this detail from the sources that just jumps out, that early on, they were actually promising things like women's rights and peace. How does that square with, well, everything else?
It seems jarring, doesn't it? But it highlights something really important about them. Strategic pragmatism. They were willing to say what they needed to say to gain power.
Projecting an image.
Exactly. Projecting reform, stability, even moderation, while holding on to their core beliefs. It's a pattern we see again and again, even with this current Taliban 2.0.
And that shift wasn't gradual, was it? Once they took Kabul in 96 and declared the Islamic Emirate, things changed drastically.
Immediately. That first period of rule, 96 to 2001, was defined by severe restrictions. Girls banned from school, women forced into purdah, strict veiling and seclusion.
Basically erased from public life.
Pretty much. And bans on anything deemed Western, music, TV, photography, you name it. Public punishments were common and brutal. Executions, floggings, amputations.
And the cultural destruction, too. That drew international condemnation. The Buddhas of Bamiyan in 2001.
A huge moment, a real symbol of their extremism. And they enforced all this with their moral police, the Amara bil Maruf. Even minor infractions could lead to punishment.
Just imagine living under that.
And because of all this, their human rights abuses, they were incredibly isolated internationally. Only 3 countries recognize them: Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE.
Wow, just 3.
Yeah. The rest of the world hit them with UN sanctions, U.S. embargoes, largely because of the human rights situation, but also their harboring of terrorists.
Which brings us to that critical connection, their role in international terrorism.
They gave sanctuary, provided bases for Osama bin Laden and al-Qaeda. It's well documented.
And that refusal, their refusal to hand over bin Laden after 9/11.
That was the direct trigger. It led straight to the U.S. invasion in October 2001 and the overthrow of their government.
At the time, many thought, okay, that's it for the Taliban. But it wasn't the end, was it? Not even close.
Not at all. Their government fell, yes, but the movement itself, it just went underground, regrouped. It marked the start of a very long, very patient comeback.
The long game. They regrouped across the border in Pakistan, didn't they? And launched what turned into a 20-year insurgency.
Exactly. 20 years. And their tactics were brutal but effective. IEDs, suicide bombings, classic guerrilla warfare hitting Afghan and coalition forces.
But it wasn't just fighting, was it? It was strategic.
Very strategic. Slowly retaking rural areas, setting up shadow governments, undermining the official Afghan government at every turn, chipping away year after year.
And during this whole period, some surprising things were happening behind the scenes, according to the sources. Secret talks.
Yeah, for years. Taliban representatives and U.S. diplomats were meeting secretly in Doha, Qatar, even while the fighting raged.
And their funding. We mentioned the narcotics earlier.
Hugely important. The opium and heroin trade funded a large part of their insurgency. That plus extortion in areas they controlled.
And critically, despite any public statements maybe suggesting otherwise, they kept their ties with al-Qaeda.
The evidence indicates they did. Those links remained throughout the insurgency period.
And that long game, as you called it, paid off dramatically in August 2021.
It culminated incredibly quickly. As U.S. troops were pulling out, the Taliban just swept across the country, city after city fell.
And then Kabul.
Yeah.
And the declaration, once again, of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, Taliban 2.0 arrives.
And they came with promises, didn't they? A reformed Taliban, more moderate, inclusive, tolerant. That was the public message.
That was the message. But the reality on the ground since then
paints a very different picture. Women banned from education beyond 6th grade in 2022. Girls' high schools, universities shut down later.
So much for moderation.
Quite. Journalists, protesters facing prison or worse. And interestingly, reports of internal divisions are persistent. Factions like the hardline Kandaharis versus the more political Doha group.
Suggests it's not quite a unified monolith.
Seems that way, which adds another layer of complexity.
And yet, despite the lack of formal recognition, major regional players, China, Russia, Iran, Pakistan, they are engaging with the regimes diplomatically, aren't they?
They are. It's a pragmatic engagement driven by regional stability concerns, economic interests, counter-terrorism worries. But yeah, no formal recognition yet.
So how do they maintain control given the international situation and these internal dynamics? Let's talk structure.
It's very centralized at the top. You have the supreme leader, Hibatullah Khanzada. He's rarely seen in public, considered an ultra-hardliner.
Okay.
Then key figures like Sirajuddin Haqqani, he's interior minister, head of the Haqqani network, and actually wanted by the FBI.
Right, that Haqqani connection is significant.
Very. And Mullah Yaqub, son of the founder Mullah Omar, he's the defense minister. So power is concentrated, but how rules get enforced can vary. Tribal dynamics, local commanders, those factional splits. It means enforcement isn't always uniform across the country. A kind of shadow rule in practice.
And funding this whole operation, now they're in charge.
Yeah.
Still the opium.
Opium is still a factor, yes, but it's more diversified now. Taxation, extortion in areas they control, donations from sympathizers in Gulf countries still play a role. And crucially, since 2021, they control the state's resources, especially mining revenues. Afghanistan has vast mineral wealth.
Right, control of the state apparatus itself.
Which brings us back, unfortunately, to the human rights situation under their current rule. It's dire.
How so?
Women's rights, as we mentioned, severely rolled back, arguably worse than the 90s in some ways. LGBTQ plus individuals face extreme persecution, even death.
It's horrific.
Ethnic minorities, particularly the Hazara Shia Muslims, face systematic persecution, violence. Activists, anyone seen as opposition, disappearances, executions are reported regularly. It's a very grim reality for many.
Given all that, it feels really important to tackle some common myths that still float around about the Taliban.
Definitely.
Like the idea that they're totally unified.
Clearly not true. As we discussed, there are factions, internal power struggles. It's much more complex than a single entity.
And the myth that they defeated al-Qaeda.
Also false. Al-Qaeda operatives remain in Afghanistan. The UN reports confirm ongoing links. They haven't been eradicated at all.
And the big one, that they've genuinely reformed. Taliban 2.0 is fundamentally different.
Largely false based on their actions. There might be cosmetic changes, different tactics, more sophisticated PR maybe, but the core ideology, the fundamentalist beliefs, they seem unchanged.
And that sophisticated PR links to something else quite striking, their use of technology, the digital Taliban.
It's fascinating and disturbing. They're incredibly tech-savvy, using WhatsApp, Twitter, encrypted apps for propaganda, recruitment, internal comms.
They run a media wing trying to project legitimacy globally.
Exactly. And the irony is just stark. They banned things like TikTok and the game PUBG inside Afghanistan for ordinary citizens,
Right.
while maintaining their own very active, very polished online presence to influence the outside world. It shows how extremist groups adapt and use the tools of modernity for their own ends.
It's a chilling look at modern information control, isn't it?
It really is.
So, wrapping this deep dive up, what should you, the listener, take away from all this? We've traced their journey, students to rulers, to insurgents, back to rulers.
And it's clear they're not just militants. They're a deeply ideological movement, secretive, adaptable in tactics, and now a political entity shaping Afghanistan's destiny for the second time. And despite any claims of change, their actions show they're still rooted in those very conservative, theocratic views. The future for Afghanistan, particularly for women, minorities, any free press, it looks incredibly uncertain under Taliban 2.0.
Definitely uncertain. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Given their proven ability to adapt tactics while clinging tightly to their core ideology, what does their sophisticated use of digital tools truly signal about the future? Not just for Afghanistan, but for information control, for resistance in our interconnected world.
That's the question, isn't it? How does that play out globally? Something to really think about.